Good morning, and excited to be back with the guys and going on this week's preparation. And need to have a great week of, each day. We got to make sure that we make the most of it and get ourselves ready for the opportunity this week, play against a talented, in my opinion, really good Nebraska football team.
Paul, what has Brady Schobert done to put himself in position to contribute in the way that he has?
Yeah, I think what Ship has done to be a valuable part of this team is he comes every day and puts the work in. He's consistent, and thought he had a great spring, and for a while was darn near the only back that was going, but. Kind of knew that there's I think sensed that there's a niche that he could fill, and then put a ton of work into all that's needed to be able to do that part, and I think he's done a really good job with that.
Paul, you guys have faced Martinez from Nebraska a couple times now, and if you look at his numbers, his value to the offense there is obviously impressive.
Right.
How does he stress defenses? What are the most significant ways he puts stresses on defense?
Yeah, I think he's a dynamic athlete, and he can stress you and make plays and big plays with his arm and with his legs, and I think they do a nice job overall, in kind of their scheme in putting him in those positions, and there's an option component to their game, and that requires you've got to play with great discipline. And when there are different options, it also narrows down the number of people that can kind of stop it or be responsible for each part of that. And I think I remember when he first came in, he was impressive, but I think he's continued to improve and get better. And he's been healthy this whole year, and it doesn't matter which game you put on, he's making big plays, and those big plays are him running the ball, off of different things that they do, and him throwing the ball.
Well, when you were reviewing things from Saturday, 5 false starts, was there a through line? Was there something like with the cadence that was off, or what was going on with some of those false starts?
Yeah, I thought the first one, we were in our red zone going towards the student section. I thought we had a number of guys, and I thought that was one that you just have a sense that there's something with the cadence. And then the other ones were just, I thought, flat out, guys just got to lock in on it. And, when you see one guy, not a couple, then I think it tends to be on that one person.
Just what's the progress you've seen in the passing game these last couple of weeks? Obviously the numbers are better, but what did you kind of seen in the practice field and stuff that kind of led to this?
Well, I think that it's everyone kind of doing their part in it. I think the protection has been good. I think Graham's had time, and I think that the routes have been where they need to be, and I think Graham's been seeing it and trusting it, and giving it a chance, to give guys an opportunity down the field. And each week's another challenge, right? And going up against another defense, I think a really good defense, and we got to have a great week of preparation so that we can carry that forward and find different ways to move the ball. Yeah.
When you have a guy who hasn't played a lot and he fumbles, I imagine it can mess with his head. How do you handle that? Do you leave him alone, or do you just reinforce? You've got to protect the ball.
Yeah, and I think that the way to help coach it is identify things that are in their control. And it's from their path, to how they're carrying, how they're receiving it. The second one was kind of how you're receiving it, and I thought, Jackson kind of veered away from it as well. So you compound it a little bit, and so we all know the end result, what you want, But I think you got to give them things that are controllable and that are kind of fundamental, technical components of it, and then you got to make sure they're working on it, and then you've got to trust them with it, and put them back. And that's why I thought it was important that he was able to go back in. And what I liked about when he went back in is he still ran hard, didn't run cautious, because that you can't let, whether it was a good play or a bad play, you can't let a previous play affect your next play. And that's sometimes easier said than done. And so I thought that's what was good. But I think you got to give them concrete, fundamental techniques that they can rely on. And it's everything from, the steps that you take to how your body is in position when you're receiving it to when you're in traffic, and it goes on and on.
It's senior day. So many of your players are going to be playing at Camp Randall for the last time. When you look back on this group of seniors, what will you remember most about this group?
Well, I think that, this is a unique year. You've got kind of a combination of guys that would have had their senior day last year, and then another group that's having it now. And let's face it, some of these guys have an option to come back, and we're going to choose to celebrate them while we can. And I think what you look back on is, for me, it's each individual, and you appreciate the time that you're able to spend with them. You appreciate all that they gave and all that they did to grow, not just as a football player, but as a person, and so many of them, we got guys that not just earned one degree, we got a number of them earning a second degree, and you're proud of all that. But each guy's got their own story. It's hard for me to just say, okay, this group, right? Because the group's made up of individuals, and we get to choose to focus on each individual, and so they all have their own story. They all have their own journey. Certainly got to share in a lot of the moments, but it's you're just grateful for the time that you're with them, and you want it to last as long as it can. But you're also excited for them to move on because you're confident in them, and you're confident that they are ready for the next chapter and chapters in their life.
Just wondering, your general impressions of Nebraska. Obviously, their record isn't what they want to be, but it seems they've been close in a number of games this year. Just when you look at them film, what catches your attention?
The play, the way they're playing, it grabs your attention, and we all know the record, but you watch the film, and it doesn't matter which game, and it's offensively they're explosive, and they've got very good players, and their scheme is such that forces you to be really disciplined. Once again, it's another bit of a unique challenge for our defense, and then you watch their defense. You see again really good players and playing at a high level, and not giving you anything. People are having to go out and earn it, and special teams, you see their athleticism. I mean, you see when you watch the tape, you see a good football team, good players. And, that doesn't take long, and you see it in every game. And we've got to have a great week this week in preparing ourselves and go out, and you got to play well to win this one.
Paul, we've heard over the years how much is put on the center position in this offense and all they have to do. How have you seen Joe kind of embrace that role and then play as well as he has the last couple months?
Yeah, I think he's done just what you're saying. I think he's embraced that. And I think that, certainly has great understanding of what we're trying to do, but also takes pride in knowing that, all right, it's going to start with something I have a big hand in this, and it does a great job in working and preparing for it. And also I think, they work well together up front and trust each other. And so I don't feel like he feels like he's on an island. I think that there's a lot of guys that can help him and are willing to, and I think Joe does a nice job of making sure that he's prepped for it so that he can go out and play. And it's not a thinking deal. It's more. I think his temperament is such that he wants that on him. And how can I get us get us all together, and I think that's one of the things I appreciate from him, and I think he has been playing well.
Well, kind of along those lines, early in the year, the pass protection, Graham wasn't able to get comfortable sometimes. It's gotten much better, and obviously Joe plays a big role in that, Tippmann. But the line in general, is it just that this unit has gotten more comfortable as a unit and progressed? What are some of the factors at work there?
I think it's probably a combination of certainly guys working and improving, and not just talking about linemen, talking about tight ends and fullbacks and backs, talking about the quarterback. I think he's doing his part better in whether it's movements in the pocket or getting the ball out. And I think it also can fall on the receivers. Are you doing what you should be doing? So I think it truly is a collective effort, and we'll be tested on it this week. There's no doubt about it, and we've got areas we've got to keep working on and clean up to be effective.
That was a false start by Bradrick, right?
It was just one too.
Okay.
It was,
You hit on a couple questions ago about the free year for guys, and I'm sure you've addressed this at some point, but how tricky is that to navigate going forward from a recruiting standpoint, just from numbers, position-wise? How much have you put into that and kind of how to handle it?
Yeah, I think that you have you go in and you have some conversation. You have an idea, a sense of it with the guys, and yet you don't want them to feel like they have to make a decision. That's kind of how we approached it last year too, and a lot of it depends on where are they at in school and where are they at, really kind of in their lifeline. You know what I mean? Like how many years do you want to be in college, and what is it that you're trying to get out of it? And so I think that I think it certainly is manageable that way. And then I think that you always kind of cover yourself on different ends of it. But I feel pretty confident there that you have an idea of what you will have to offer. And, certainly we've been fortunate. That's been a big part of it too, that, I've never been concerned about, we've got one scholarship that we didn't sign. We've got a lot of guys that, come here and walk on, and it gives us an opportunity if we can take care of one of them to do such, so I don't think that it really hasn't been. Last year wasn't hard, and I don't anticipate it this year.